Let's try and see.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Fantastic. So he can hear me now. Thank you very much for joining us, and good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I am doing. I hope you are too.
Yes, I'm very fine.
Well, like I said, we're just discussing the public's expectations of the new Chief Justice. He has barely 1 year to be in that position in a substantive role. He's been there for some time. What are your own expectations of the Chief Justice? What do you think he can do within that limited period of time?
Oh, he doesn't have barely 1 year. He has a full year. It's December next year.
Okay.
And we are in November. So he has a full year. First and foremost, let me say a big congratulations to the new Chief Justice. And to be honest with you, I have a lot of expectations from him, because he himself has made it very clear that the public perception about the judicial system is quite low. And I think rightly so, because in my considered opinion, I may be wrong, the judiciary has not discharged some of its duties to the best of its abilities. And we are not lawyers, but we can read between the lines that these are not informed by legal arguments, but at times by political persuasions. And if I can borrow from the former Minister of National Security, Honorable Kandapa, he even admonished the Supreme Court that if your interpretation is tilted so much to our side all the time, it may create a problem. So even the beneficiary of their gesture or their rulings was worried that it was becoming too much. So I think 1 year to me is a long time. You can instill discipline in an institution within a month or two. And I think he must hit the road running to bring about some basic reforms, good reforms that will raise the image of the public, the judiciary.
Is there a particular area where you think reform is badly needed?
Exactly. Let me state some of the areas that I think he can make significant impact. One of them is the duration, what it takes, the length of time it takes for a case to be concluded or a hearing to be brought to an end. He, being the Chief Justice, is also the chairman of the Rule of Court Committee. So he can quickly come out with a CI which will regulate how cases are conducted and bring finality to cases in a timely manner, such that we don't just go to court and pray that one day it will happen. We should know that within a year, within 2 years, within 3 months, it is going to happen. So I think he may have to have a look at that. And again, also the abuse or the use or misuse rather of discretion at the court. He can also do a lot to curtail that also. At times you hear of bail conditions and remands, etc., that do not make sense. If, for instance, an offense is a misdemeanor and the law basically provides for a fine instead of custodial sentence, then what sense will it make if we keep that person in prison or police custody for weeks and only to fine him a small amount or to set him free? So I think those areas, we may have to remove those discretions that have been abused over the years. If it is possible to say that, well, we can grant self-cognizance bail or a bill of a small amount unless you are actually a flight risk. I don't see the reason why one should be denied the bail or a small amount of bail or self-cognizance bail so that justice can take its course. Otherwise, people start serving their jail sentence or terms even before the cases are tried. I think these things must be brought to an end. Again, the courts, according to him, and I've heard from several other Supreme Court judges and Superior Court judges, are choked because they are overwhelmed with cases or loaded with cases. They should also try and automate some of their processes. The situation where judges still struggle to write instead of getting the recordings just done, I think must change so that the automation may help to expedite the hearing process. But if it is possible, he should look for financial clearance to recruit additional judges. We don't need additional courtrooms, but we need more judges. So some of the judges can sit after 6 o'clock. The 24 hours economy should apply in the judiciary. There's nothing wrong to say that Sena versus Daniel Domelevo, come at 7 p.m., we will listen to your case, or come at 10 p.m., we will listen to your case, so that the courtroom, which becomes vacant after a judge has sat there for at times 4 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, that courtroom can be put to use 24/7. And I think it will help to clear the cases. But more importantly, the way trivial offenses, I call them trivial because people do things which may be considered out of maybe need or anger or whatever it is, like a lady whose children are hungry and he goes to pluck somebody's mango or orange to feed the children, sentenced to very harsh terms. I think all those things must be regulated so that we must be seen as a just society. It is becoming increasingly worried when minor offenses are punished timely and severely. And those who steal public funds, the corrupt ones, who we all know, they who have created problem for the entire nation, stolen from the entire nations, the entire nation and generations yet unborn, they go almost scot-free in the name of legal arguments and etc. If he can bring those things, put a limitation on all those things, I think it will help all of us. But I wish him well, and I know he's a good man. He will do a good job.
Well, and now let's turn to the issue of the budget. And I'm sure you heard that portion. Of course, I don't know if you missed your ear, because the portion about the auditing of the arrears and what the minister said they found, did it surprise you in any way?
Not at all. It did not surprise me a bit. It is a perennial thing. It happens every time. I don't know if you remember when I was Auditor General in early 2018, I disallowed 5.4 billion those days, out of over 10 billion. So it happens. And I'm sorry, but let me say the same thing here. Because there are no consequences for those misbehaviors, people keep repeating them because they pray that they will get away with it. And I'm sure they get away with some of them, or a good number of them. So I'm not surprised at all, because nobody was prosecuted. If you listen to the minister carefully, I've not seen the draft report that he has seen, but if you listen to the minister, it was about the same things. People were recycling IPCs, that is the interim payment certificates. They pay for roofing, and then they will submit another claim again. The only things which make the difference at times is simply the date and the IPC number, at times the description. Instead of saying roofing, they may say they put shelter on top of the building. So, and you ask me, what's the difference between shelter on the building and roofing? So they just change the language and they claim the same amount 2 or 3 times. I think this time there should be a different approach. Those guys who submitted those claims fraudulently must be held accountable. Some must be made to pay back monies if it has been already overpaid, because in 2018, thereabout, when we did the audit, there were some who had even been overpaid but were making additional claims. So they should refund those monies. And even those that were not overpaid, for resubmitting a claim that has already been honored is fraudulent enough for people to be sentenced or prosecuted at the minimum. So he should let something happen this time, not like how it was in the past. Thank you.
And I'm wondering what is responsible for this, because I hope the public service, are we saying we have no safeguards against something like this? Because in this case, he's talking about over 10 billion. In one case, there was a billion cedis that had been processed for payment that if he had not stopped would have been paid when that payment was not supposed to have been made in the first place. What is accounting for this?
Well, that one he was talking about the BTS, the bank transfer advice. The bank transfer advice is the last stage of payment, which if it had hit the bank, it is just like a check which has been issued, which immediately it hits the bank, the payment goes through. The simple answer to you, my brother, is that people have done this over the years and gotten away with it. And the minimum which happened during my time was that I disallow it, which means I stop it. Is that not it? And it doesn't bring any deterrence. If they stop it and they say, look, Daniel, you were paid 20 million and you submitted a bill for the same 20 million. This is fraudulent. And I went through the processes and I've been jailed. I think Senna will not do the same. So we always allow people to gamble with the public funds because we do nothing. We don't hold them accountable. But you look at the ordinary pickpocket at Circle. When he steals and they collect the phone from him or the money from him, what happens? The next thing is that he is in police custody. After that, before you realize he's in court, and maybe he's fined or jailed for some number of days. It's the same approach. I don't know why the bigger the amount, the more relaxed we are. It beats my mind. But my brother, the long and short of it is that we may have to do a paradigm shift. Said that this time, all those who submitted fraudulent or fictitious claims, especially goods which were not supplied, you say you have bought them, which happened in my time, and payment which has already been done, you just call the contractors to bring additional document and you process them for payment. People must suffer consequences for it.
Where does the problem lie? Is it with the political appointees or with the civil servants, or is just contractors trying to play a fast one on the system?
It's basically the combination of the three you are talking about. But those who actually facilitate it, I would say, are the public servants. A political appointee, like I said in one of my interviews, I don't know whether it was with you, I said that without the connivance of the public servants, there's little that a politician can steal from the public service. Because the processes are said that you alone cannot take the ball from pole to pole. You have to pass it. And that guy who you pass it to is a public servant. The next person who will move it is a public servant. The one who will shoot is a public servant. So most of the time, public servants are accomplices. We have directors, internal auditors, accountants who all look away for this type of things to happen. And I am pleading that if the Attorney General is mindful of addressing this issue, he should not just go for one person and say he is the one who submitted. All the accomplices, the internal auditor, the accountant, etc. I said this on one platform and the internal auditors are not happy. Whereas I'm very sympathetic towards them because their legal framework does not help them coming out with their best. It does not give them the room to connive and condone wrongdoing. And all of us, we run the risk of doing our work. Even as a president, you can be removed. Chief Justice, you can be removed. So do not to talk about internal auditor. So all of them should be held accountable so that they know that, hey, next time, if this is happening, I will completely disassociate myself by writing a memo or dissenting or writing a minute to show that this is not lawful, it should not be paid.
In fact, the minister told me in the interview with him that in one of his earliest acts was to move culpability from the politician to the civil servant. Is that a good way to go? That in most cases, when these things happen, we hold a politician accountable, that a civil servant usually gets away with it?
Let me say that when you take the public service, the head of the ministry, the department and agency is the minister. And they wield a lot of power. And at times, like I said in one of the interviews, they are even the least informed because the public servant has been there for several years. They know the rules, they know the processes and procedures, and they want to protect their job. So most of the times, they succumb to the dictates of the politicians. But most of the times, it takes the public servant himself or herself to do some of these things. So we should not just sterilize it and say, the word I wanted to use, I've forgotten the word. Okay. Just trying to say it is a civil servant or it's a politician or it is a supplier. No. Each crime is having its own conditions and situations. We should pick those fake or fictitious claims one by one and look for all the people who are culpable and hold them accountable. We should not just say, oh, we are going for politicians. Oh, we are going for public servants. I don't think that is the best, a good approach to go. Each crime differs, and the actors are the people we should be looking for at all times.
Are there safeguards in the system that are supposed to have prevented this kind of things from happening?
Yes, there are a lot of safeguards. So now, if you have a genuine claim from the public service, I don't know whether you have received one before. It's so painful. Even me, myself, my salary arrears, I was saying, after working in the public service for 18 years and becoming Auditor General for over 4 years, most of the people I'm dealing with were my subordinates or my juniors when I was in the public service. It takes a lot of pain. But then when they want to steal, that is through connivance, So there is a lot of motivation. It moves with light speed. That's the problem. And this is happening, and there is motivation for it to continue happening because at the end of the day, Senator, all that may happen is that they didn't allow the payment to go through, like the Auditor General has done. He has disallowed. Disallowed means that he is going to issue a certificate, or he has issued a certificate to say that I cancel or I disapprove of this payment. So he disallowed, so the payment will not be done. But what about those that the Auditor General might not have seen? Mind you, this is an audit. It is not census. And the audit is based upon samples that come to him. It's not everything that may come to him or his knowledge. So those that they submitted is what he audited. What about those that they did not submit? Some might have gone through. And like I heard the minister say, so if within about 13 billion of PTA, bank transfer advice, there is over 1 billion which should be cancelled, then you like to ask yourself, the total payment throughout the year, the total payment over the past 4 years, the total payments over the past 8 years, how much was inside there that should not have been paid, or how much of our money was stolen through those processes? So it requires for a more special audit. I will urge the current Auditor General that after the annual audit, he should conduct a lot of procurement and special audits for us to see whether there was value for money for the use of public funds.
And that was where I was coming to, because I realized that the minister was also talking about if 1 billion was just about to be, or what was required was for payment to be made. It means that there were other earlier payments. Are you suggesting that they should go back to the payments made over a certain period, look at everything?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, Senator. That was what I was doing, which was giving me the problems. I was going back because from time to time, in fact, Section 16 of the Audit Service Act gives the Auditor General the mandate that at his discretion and in the national interest, he can do a special audit. Special audits are different from the regularity audit, which we do every year. Special audit is like if you think buying of vehicles is suspicious or you'll be receiving complaints on it, you can look at how vehicles have been bought over the years and draw your conclusion, or how people have been traveling. You can just audit only traveling expenses and issue a report on it, or procurement, or a particular section of procurement. So I think there is the need for the Auditor General and his team to do more special audits so to save or retrieve monies. And please, when he does his audit, he should refrain from asking the people to recover the money. That is not his duty. The Supreme Court clearly stated in Occupy Ghana versus Attorney General that the Auditor General must himself surcharge and recover the money. But what I keep reading in audit reports is the Auditor General recommending people to bring money. He should not make recommendation to anybody. It is his duty and he must do it. And in fact, the environment is so conducive now. The president himself is worried about it. So he should go all out so that we can save monies for this country.
And I'm going to read to you just a comment that's been made by one of those who are watching us on Facebook. He says, Senna, tell Mr. Domelevo not to ask suppliers or contractors to the scale of thievery. The public servants are the, he said, is the cookers and the beneficiaries of their cooks. Contractors are scared of being taken off the contract list. So they help the public servants to do their things with their company names. Sometimes it's painful to do, but you have to safeguard a future tender. He is saying that public servants basically have a knife at your throat as a contractor. So if you do not help them do what they want to do, you will not be a beneficiary of a future tender.
I'm happy he ended by saying that, if I can say it in one word, the suppliers condone. So once you connive and condone, you are part of the crime. It's conspiracy to commit crime. The fact that you want to continue supplying in the public service does not mean you should supply your invoices and your documents so to support a fictitious claim. You are a criminal. So I beg him, he may be a supplier and may not like to hear this, but once that business is able to provide the documents necessary to make a fictitious claim, they are also conspirators and must be held accountable.
And Mr. Domelevo, we would have to leave it here. And thank you. I wanted to take your views on the matter of the National Cathedral Audit. First, but okay. So let me just do that before we bring this to a close, because there's been a series of audits. I'm sure you've noted that there's been a series of audits. One that was even mandated by the board. And we've also heard about another audit. The Attorney General still wants a forensic audit. Now, in a case where there has been earlier audits for the purpose of public education, the Attorney General is asking for a forensic audit. What is that supposed to tell us?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that we have different types of audits. All public institutions, once they are beneficiaries of public funds under Article 1872 of the Constitution, are supposed to be audited. That is basically a financial audit. Then we have special audits. The special audits include forensic audit, procurement audit, value for money audit, etc. So it is just like you go to hospital and you do one lab and you go and do another test and you go and do another. You don't say that, I've already done one test, so I can't do the other. So we do different tests to identify different type of diseases. So as for the audits, one institution can be audited 3 or 4 times. It depends upon the type of audit which is being conducted. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Is that also to tell us that perhaps, because people will suspect that they didn't find anything with the earlier audits?
Not really. That is the same thing I'm saying, that assuming that they took your blood test to do a malaria test for you and they didn't find any parasite, and so you go home jubilating that you don't have HIV, I don't think that is the case. So if it is a financial audit, they want to see whether the financial statement represents a true and fair view of the financial position of the organization. But if it is a forensic audit like the Attorney General is asking for, is to identify wrongdoing and those who are culpable. So that has nothing to do with whether the financial statement is correct or not. So this goes a bit more into detail to look for evidence to support people who are guilty or culpable of committing an offense or who are not. So it is depend upon the type of the audit, and the methodology of the audit also differ. The forensic audit is more thorough. It goes beyond at times even the figures and the facts. You can even give us invoice, and we may go beyond the invoice to go and see the supplier. How long has it been there? And it reveals a whole lot of things.
So this is a deeper dive into the numbers they've seen.
Exactly. This is looking for facts behind the figures. What are the facts? So there's evidence that, Senna, you bought fuel from a filling station because you're giving us a receipt. So we look at the receipt. So we agree that you bought fuel. But then we go and look for the filling station and we can't even find it. It doesn't even exist. So how come that you are getting receipts from a filling station which doesn't exist? I hope you get the point.
Yes.
So the forensic audit goes a bit deeper to look for facts behind the figures.
And let me conclude by asking your own view on this matter of the National Cathedral. Most Ghanaians are convinced that something went wrong there. That thing should be found and people should be held accountable for it. Are you one of those who hold that opinion?
Strongly. Very strongly. I even don't believe that. I heard something, I don't know whether it's true, that somebody said, the Attorney General said the National Cathedral money was approved, etc. There is something we call contingency fund, which is different from contingency vote. Contingency vote is just a contingency that you put in place in case the budget is not sufficient. A huge expenditure which is not coming out of any emergency or anything should not go through contingency vote. But that is what the minister used, because when you use a vote, that all that you are saying is that, look, I'm going on a trip. My ticket, my accommodation, etc., comes to 1,000 Ghana cedis. Just in case something may happen, add another 100 cedis. So instead of 1,000 cedis, I take 1,100 cedis. That additional 100 is what we call the contingency vote. But the Constitution provides for the creation of what we call contingency fund. And that fund is supposed to be under the supervision of the Finance Committee of Parliament, where an appropriation will be done each year and put money there so that if there are occurrences that were not foreseen,